good way to learn how the waves work, I mean, really, one way to start to see how waves work is you can actually just mess with them in the practice tool, and no one really does it. And I probably should save this, maybe just for YouTube or just in general for like my Facebook page for just general coaching that can help people out. If you want to get higher than low ELO, it might help you to learn wave management. Some people can climb to probably diamond without it, but why? Like, why, why not understand how it works? Okay. I'm going to show you a move that top laners do that only shows up with the highest high level of players. I don't do it very often because I'm really lazy and impatient. Generally speaking, I'm just an impatient player anyways, and there's a reason why I stay away from top lane. What we're going to do is we're going to drag the lane into this brush, and I'm going to show you how the lane will slow push to us. So for those who weren't there for the coaching, what happened was the Kayle was low, super low, and the Tryndamere just shoves in. That's all well and good, but shoving in doesn't really do anything. We want the Kayle to get off a tower, right? And even if the Kayle is getting more XP than us, pushing her off the tower becomes a more important goal. So the way that you pull the wave is you just last hit. You just last hit. That's all you're doing. And you notice I last hit right as the minion, the damage goes through. And then you get away, and then you do it again. You just last hit. That's all we're trying to do. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a situation where no matter what Kayle does, and I'm using Kayle as an example because we want this guy off a tower, right? No matter what our opponent does, we create a situation where as long as our spells don't damage the wave, our opponent is naturally going to have to come off tower. They're going to have to leave tower. This is especially potent when in matchups where you can kill somebody, but they won't fucking move off of the turret. So if you do this the right way, I'm obviously missing some farm because I'm trying to explain it, but if you do this the right way, there's no reason that someone can turtle up forever. You see what I mean? There's no way. And when you have somebody on the ropes, right, this creates a scenario where your opponent won't be able to hug tower forever. People often ask, for example, how do I punish NEACE's top? Right? How do I punish NEACE's top? This would be a perfect example of how to punish NEACE's top. You put the NEACE in a situation, he's such a weak champion early, he can't fight you, and he can't go anywhere off of the tower. So if you do this little pull and drag method, right? If you do this little pull and drag method, you eventually force your opponent off of this tower. So in your instance, Corvine with the Kayle matchup, you had the Kayle really weak. Oh, by the way, I have to explain what I'm doing here. So eventually the wave can get so big, you have to thin the wave to keep a freeze, right? Just like I showed in the, like where I froze a lane in one of the matchmaking games for a while. You have to thin the wave, because if you don't thin the wave is too big. If we left the wave, however many minions up, we couldn't tank the wave like that. And now you put your opponent in a situation where you can just freeze. And this is a freeze. You just keep about 4 minions up in the spot, like we did in the video before. In the video where I froze the wave for like 20 minutes. This is all you do. You just keep about 4 minions, just about 4 minions up. You can have a little bit more, but not less. Because after a certain point, if you have 2 little minions, you won't be able to keep the freeze. Siege minion is worth a little bit more than 1 minion too. So it just basically becomes practice. And if you want to learn how to get good wave management, this is a really good way to practice this. As you can just say, I'm going to hold this. Like, see, I let the minions hit the tower, right? In that spot. That's not necessarily what you want to do, because if this wave gets too close to tower, well, now you're not really freezing anymore, right? The tower is going to fuck it up. But the goal, what you should be doing with a drill like this, is if you want to learn wave management, first start with this. Start with the pull drag method into a freeze, right? That will be the first thing that as a player, if you can do this, right? Everything I just showed you, that I didn't do anything crazy here, and it depends on the champions that you're playing as well, obviously, right? Like some champions are going to have to play a freeze scenario a little differently than others, but champions with really good sustain are great for freezing. Right. See, it looks like I might have screwed the freeze up in this spot, right? I might have let it get too close to the tower. I'm not exactly sure yet. It might be auto-attacking a little too early. So that would be an example of like, you do the pull drag method, you try to hold the freeze for as long as you can. Okay, now the next thing that you can think about, and this is the other aspect of wave management that, like I'm just gonna break this freeze, right? Because I think I can still hold it, but I'm just gonna break it just for the purposes of discussion. So the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna think about how can I get a big wave under tower, for the example of diving with like a Tryndamere or like a Pantheon or like an Elise jungle or something. Like I want to get a big wave under tower so that I can make my opponent basically screwed. Like if they die, they lose so much farm. And all you do is you just try to sync up your push with the back wave. That's all you're doing. You're just trying to sync up your push with the back wave. So you just calmly push, and then once the wave gets close, you jam. Right? And what this is going to do is you can have different variations of this, but if you do it right, look. If your opponent tries to fight you on this dive, and they auto you, they draw all this minion aggro. And this gives you an opportunity as a diver. When you dive with this many minions, if you trade 1 for 1, it's still super good for you, because no matter what happens, look what happens with the wave. So let's pretend that we die and we trade 1 for 1, right? We get all these minions under tower. Watch the wave. This is how you win at top lane over and over again. This is how top laners squish their opponents, basically. Now you see what happens. The wave, guess what? If you wave manage properly, you could do the same exact thing that we opened the video with. And you could just last hit, right? If you really wanted to just be a nuisance with wave management, you could just last hit. And you could do it over and over again. You could pull a big wave back to you. You could hold it for a while. And then once your jungler comes up, you can do a big push again. So I'm going to show you again. I'm just going to let the wave push to me. This takes a second, but this is how you, this is really how you learn. If you do it, if you're able to do it in a game. So like here, I would thin it out a little bit, right? I would try to thin it out because I'd be like, oh, this is a little too many minions. It's going to be hard to freeze this. There's way too many minions here. We've got a wave behind. I'm always cross-referencing, and then right here, look. Just kind of drag for a second of the brush. Then the wave out. Is it possible to freeze with Tiamat? Yes, but it's a little weird because you've got to use like the active just perfectly and your spells just perfectly. Then you just do it like this, right? And you can just do the same exact freeze. Same exact fucking deal. You just keep about 3 minions up and you just thin it. Or I'm sorry, 4 minions, sorry. Keep about 4 minions over. That's about 4. We're good. And you just wait. And you're good to go. This is the little stuff that I do in my games that most players don't. This is why when I go top lane, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm very lazy with freezing in top lane. I normally just beat people top lane through raw diving. I very rarely will do this stuff to them because I just think it's boring. I think it's boring for content, like to do winning is not boring, guys. So go ahead and abuse this all you want. When you get ahead of somebody, you can freeze on them all you want. What I'm saying is, as a streamer, it's not good content for me to just hold the freeze forever. I acknowledge that it's very powerful, but it's just not how I play top lane when I stream. But if I'm like playing higher elo, if I'm trying really hard, I freeze a lot, because it's just a really effective. It's an effective tool. Now, someone asks, what do I do if the enemy freezes on me? If I'm missing farm, whatever. I'm trying to explain this. Don't flame me. What do I do if the enemy freezes on me? Well, basically, you're stuck. And this is the tragic truth. This is why I give a lot of... this is why I flame a lot of the other roles, and I always argue that top lane is like... Top lane is... most top laners suck at this, right? That's why people want videos for this, right? Because most top laners suck with freezing and all that stuff. I'm just being honest. I'm not doing this to be mean. Most people... This shit's confusing and weird. I get it. It's a very obtuse concept. I give top lane a lot of credit, especially the really good ones that understand this. Because if someone does this to you, your game is basically over. We're gonna do a push with like a bunch of minions now, just to show that again. But the way that you break a freeze is you have to have a teammate do it. A jungler has to do it. A mid has to do it. A support has to do it. It doesn't matter. Someone has to come into the wave and defend you, because the whole purpose of a freeze is if you try to break my freeze and I can kill you, well, you're not breaking the freeze. You can't walk up. That's the phrase, walk up. You can't walk up to the wave, because if you walk up to the wave, you're dead. We'll pretend that we've got like an Aurelia or whatever sitting right here, right? And I'm just chilling. I'm doing my thing. And she can't walk up, because she's like, well, if I walk up, I'm doomed. This guy's like 2 levels up on me. He's got Essence Reaver, whatever, right? Whatever the matchup is. And he's just holding this freeze right in my face. He can't really do anything about it. He just keeps ducking into the brush and holding the freeze and chilling. And he's got ult. He's got everything he needs to kill me. And I can't stop it. And he's just sitting here, sitting here, sitting here. The way you would break this at this point is that you would have to have a different player come in. So it would have to be like a Lee Sin or something. And they would have to walk up to the lane and do, or like a Fiddle jungle, or, whatever jungler, right? They would have to come up here, and they would have to just jam the wave under tower, and I'd have to back off, and then the wave, these minions have to get under tower in order for this, or I should show it under red. These minions have to get under tower for the freeze to be broken. If the wave doesn't get under tower, the freeze isn't broken, right? That's the only way. So let me show you one more thing, just one more little trick. Just imagine for a second that you're like level 3, level 4, and you're getting dumped on, right? And someone does the move that I showed you, right? And they've got the wave kind of in this funky arrangement. It bounces and it sets up like this, okay? So you know it's about to push out. At this point, when you have teleport, a top laner can actually just start teleport, or just start backing here. Okay? You don't even need teleport, actually. So check this out. So say for example that you're super low here, right? And you can't go in this brush, and you can't ward it because you got no wards, right? But you can't go anywhere near it because you're worried, like, what if my opponent's there? Your opponent can stay in that brush, or he can back, and you'll never know, essentially. So, like, you can abuse the fact that your opponent can't push out to get a back timing off, and then you can just proceed to start freezing the lane. And if they try to push the lane, and you have teleport, you can block it if you want. I mean, you can just do so many things like that because you have the wave in that arrangement. Do you understand what I'm saying? The amount of times that I face somebody who's like really sick, like I'm talking like a challenger top laner, and they get you on the ropes, they will do that. They'll play right in this brush. They'll play right in the brush just like I showed you, and they'll set it up so that you don't know if they're backing or not. And they might just stay, they might go in the alcove. You won't know, right? Without any help, you won't know. So this lane is super punishing to somebody. Like if you get a lead and you get the wave bouncing back, the lane is super punishing on somebody who doesn't understand that. You can even do the same thing with freezing sometimes. So like, let me show you. So like, let's say we thin out the wave, right? So let's say you're setting up a freeze, which this is questionable because there's not enough minions here, but I'm just showing you real quickly. So like if you've got a freeze like here or whatever, right in this area, you just keep ducking into the brush over and over again and just last hitting. You put somebody in a really tough spot because like right now you could just give up a couple minions and bait them into trying to push. You see what I'm saying? You can just give up some minions and just bait your opponent to try to walk up and push. And then you could just path in and kill them. You could just path right in. Because they won't know unless they ward it, right? And they're probably not going to have wards for it. And you can get real fancy. You could even bring a pink ward right there and just block all vision. And just sit there and just give up farm randomly. And if they walk close and try to break the freeze, you can do all sorts of little mind games like that in top lane. And it all hinges on whether or not you understand all the wave management stuff. So there you go. I hope that helps because a lot of people don't really understand wave management very well. And I think it's a very, very important tool that the more that you practice it, just practice it in the practice tool. Basically, without overcomplicating it, all you really need to know is how to do the drag and freeze thing. Like if you can do that, if you can set up a freeze and hold it, that's pretty good. Like if you can get a lead on somebody and make it so if they walk up and you can kill them and they can't farm, you're like making the game 4v5, right? The other thing you need to remember is that anytime you use abilities, you can break your own freeze. If you use the abilities on the minions on accident, you can basically just fuck your own freeze up. Oh, and learn how to sync your pushes up. Like, know what you're trying to do, basically. Like, know what your goal is. Are you freezing? Are you shoving? Are you backing? Are you baking like somebody to try to break the freeze? Does my jungler need to push? Okay, you guys understand? You understand the wave management? Well, if you don't, practice, because that's what the tool's for. I'll have my editor copy and paste this for YouTube. Since I got on this topic, I think it is a good topic. If this goes on YouTube, like, comment, share, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Also, all you people that are watching me on Facebook streams, like and share and maybe subscribe, because that really helps. Blah, blah, blah. You get it. I love you. And